These are my overwintering worms, and I want to bait them to a top level so that I can have just compost remaining in the bottom to put in the garden, but have the worms at the top. I need some brown paper. This is a brown paper sack that I've ripped up. I'm going to cut a circle out of that. I need a utility knife. I've got a Phillips screwdriver to poke holes in that. Some leftover scraps from the bag to shred up for bedding. I have some butternut squash that I cubed and put in the freezer that I'm going to use to bait them, and then scissors to do the shredding and opening the package. I'm going to cut a circle out of this paper bag, the same size as the bucket, just by tracing around it with the utility knife. There, I've got my circle, the exact same shape as the bucket. I've set this on my Cecil rug out in the garage, jute rug, whatever it is, and I'm just going to use the screwdriver to poke some holes in this, and this will allow the worms to come up through this layer. Lots of holes for the worms to come up through, and I've made them plenty big so that they don't get stuck in the paper. Now I'm just going to set this on top of the compost operation. Get it to make contact. Now I'm creating some shreds from the leftover brown paper to use as bedding on top of that paper circle that they're going to migrate through. And we'll set these shreds on top of the circle. The last step is to put the bait on top of the bedding, which is my homegrown butternut squash that I cubed and put in the freezer. I'll close them up and we'll put them keep them in the garage. It's moving day for the red wiggler worms, and I had put some brown paper bag shreds on top of this bedding that I overwintered in the bucket system, 2 buckets with holes and drainage and venting, and I was trying to lure them up out of the bottom with some squash as I showed before, and it worked. There's a huge glump of them right here, so I'm going to move those into the tower down the compost tube, and then the rest of it we're going to sift so that we try to get the compost out and save the worms to put in the tower. And I've repurposed some old tubing from some sort of construction project, a couple of pieces of hardware mesh, and it's 1/2 inch, so we crisscrossed it so it's a little bit smaller maybe, to try to sift out the compost and keep the worms on top. There's quite a few right there. So we'll get those put into the tower. Oh yeah. Trying to do this as humanely as possible without cutting them up and damaging them. I cut one up. Sorry, buddy. Again. We've screened a lot of it, and that's what it's coming through as. I think we've got the majority of the worms out. They are now down in their summer home, and what I'm going to do with what's remaining, since there's a lot of melon seeds and things in there, I think that we'll put this, instead of putting it in the garden straight like this, I'm going to put it in my compost tumblers, and that'll give some more moisture to both of those chambers. I'll put a little bit in the yellow one, which is the one I'm finishing off sooner, and then this is the new one I'm using, so we'll put some in there too. Watch this video for instructions on how to make this overwintering bin for my compost worms that I keep in my heated garage.
Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand.